Hey there, boys and girls. Matt here, Pickled Dragon, with another Pickled Dragon Unscripted. Uh, Coil is not here with us this time. It's just a few days before Christmas, and enjoying my bourbon and rum infused nog. I hope that you are able to enjoy some yourself. But in any case, I wanted to share with you guys an adventure that I have run a number of times for different groups over the years. It's from the third edition days, and I've updated it for a number of different game systems, but it's pulled from the Savage Tide uh, adventure series that Paizo put out in Dungeon Magazine during the third edition days. And that is what's behind me here, the Scuttle Cove chapter. And to put it simply, this is like sex, drugs, and piracy put into overdrive. The major themes of the adventure, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but like some words, some single words that come to mind are like perversion, insanity, mutilation, and just pure evil. We're gonna hit the highlights as I don't run it directly like it's meant to be run from the Savage Tides adventure path, but there are a number of subplots in and whatnot in the adventure that are just fantastic. So I love the setting. So the premise is the party has, for whatever reason, and we're gonna go over some adventure hook ideas at the end, but for whatever reason, the party has stumbled into into Scuttle Cove during a turf war between worshippers of Demogorgon, Dagon, and Grast. Uh, and so it is already you have the makings for something particularly nasty with just those major players. And this is the adventure that I was running, had to buy off for the players and whatnot, but one of the players quit mid-adventure because he said it was just too much. He literally was having bad dreams from it. Um, and you know, I could see that. And he ended up leaving the group, but uh, it can be a lot for some people. So, you know, parental discretion advised. So if you take a look at, I'm going to share some screenage here. Here, let's do this. Yeah, yeah, and here. So this is the um, cover of the issue number 146 of Dungeon Magazine, and there's uh again it's out of the adventure path for Savage Tide, but this setting in and of itself is easily adapted. You could put it on the coast of some tropical location or on an island, whatever fits your campaign, but it's pretty awesome. So here is the map of Scuttle Cove, and pretty soon here we're going to go over some of the particulars of little old Scuttle Cove here. There are actually I'm sorry, six different factions, all vying for control of Scuttle Cove. Um, the first is the Crimson Fleet. Now, they are actually not located in Scuttle Cove proper. They have a little like secret hideout down the coast from Scuttle Cove. And it's actually a very I mean, it's just an incredible location to send your adventurers because it's built primarily out of derelict ships. In fact, the map you see down here, those ships are all actually stacked on top of one another, built around a tree, and you can see the tree stump there. So it's kind of like a tower of broken down ships that they've created this kind of stronghold out of. It's really cool. The boss is Cold Captain Wither. He's the Crimson Fleet leader, and he's actually uh half a half demon. So he is full on badass right there, you see. So moving on to the next faction, we have the seventh Coil, who are Yuan Ti. So one of my favorite bad guys. And they have a surface location there, the Red Foam Whaling Building. Um, but most of their uh, hideouts are underground in the sewers and whatnot, hidden away. Some are in the jungle. So if you want, as a DM, you want to like cultivate this faction and have the party really go up against them, you might have to do a little work adding, the sewers and whatnot, some strongholds out in the jungle, but they're led by an anathema that you see there. And anathema are pretty nasty, depending on the edition. Fifth edition, they really toned them down quite a bit, but the third edition anathema was no joke. So I would even suggest making if you're going to run a fifth edition, I would pump it up a little bit. But in any case, the next one is my particular favorite. All right, we have Kedward Bone, who is actually a wizard. Good old Kedward here. And he is seeking to control Scuttle Cove through addiction. He has developed a drug that they don't give a lot of details on in the adventure, but I always called it the hunger. And he is trying to control uh, the city by getting the populace addicted to his. It's a magical concoction, and so it's not easily broken even by magic. And you can see that it's. I have always said the kind of deformities on his face there were from using his own stock, and so I'd always given addicts their own, kind of like horrible features and whatnot. But actually, he's just got in the adventure, it just discusses how he has like, deformities of his own, but that's less interesting, you know. Now, something that is a little funny about Kedward is that he's got an imp as a servant or a familiar. And apparently the imp and him are kind of they get busy quite a bit. And that'll be significant later. Because these two, obviously the imp is, while the imp serves him and does mostly what he wants, it also stirs up quite a lot of trouble for him. But so the next group we have are an underground group. So like the whole city's kind of a reverse of what you'd expect. The criminal enterprises are all public, and the heroes are are operating in the shadows. And these guys are the Protectorate. So the Protectorate, essentially what they do is they try to smuggle as many captives, um, you know, and slaves and whatnot out of the city as possible. You have this guy right here, actually, his name is Lars, and he runs an inn. And the book, the adventure describes it as pretty much the only safe place to rest at night. And Lars, he refuses to join the Protectorate officially, but he still helps them quite a bit. Now, it doesn't give a whole lot on the Protectorate in the book. I actually make position 8. It's called the Deacon's Aria. There's this lady, Abethany Ravenka, who leads a troupe of actors. And in the official adventure, they're all just wicked and evil, and they use slaves and captives in their plays and their performances, and oftentimes this means torture and mutilation and horrible blood and guts and all the worst possible things you can imagine. Well, I switched it up a little bit. Made that the kind of the headquarters for the Protectorate, and I made her a powerful illusionist, and she uses it as a front and uses illusions to make it seem like they're doing terrible things to slaves and all the captives, but in reality, they're just kind of smuggling them out of the city as best as they can. Now, one of the reasons I did this using illusions is that I also kind of made it one of the more depraved locations that they actually did some of the most horrible things to individuals in their plays. But I wanted to see if I could provoke a response from the players just to see what they would do if confronted by that. And it didn't disappoint. The party assaulted the theater and killed everyone inside. Basically, and then it was kind of after the fact that they realized, oh no, these guys were the Protectorate. These were all, they figured it out after the fact. So they kind of screwed up pretty significantly. Um, but hand it to them. They're trying to be heroic. Great. And that's something I need to like mention is that this adventure, if the party is ambiguously good, you might get by, but you bring a group of murder hobos in this town and it's gonna get off the charts wacky. Okay, so this is the Porphyry House. Tiralandi is this obviously unusual lady here. She is a half succubus, half nymph. So here again, we're sticking with this kind of adult theme. Um, and she is makes no bones. She kind of sweets up to kind of the most scoundrelly individual in the party. And, you know, she is the leading information broker in town. Um, and she does it through like her guile and charm, obviously using her nymph and succubus lineage to the full effect. But her goal is to take control of the city and kind of turn it into her own personal uh private Epstein Isle, if you will. She is all about getting it on with people and makes no bones about it. So it's kind of again a very adult themed character here. And the Porphyry House is there's multiple whorehouses in the town, and the Porphyry House is like the upscale, super posh one. So, and what's interesting is that before Tiralandi came to town, it used to be run by the Yuan-Ti until they lost control of it. So again, there's another opportunity for some give and take, and some drama, if you will, for the party to solve. All right, moving on. The sixth and final faction is the Monastery of Dire Hunger. So these are the last remnants of the original leaders of the city. There were these three priests that came and founded the city originally, and the these monks came along with, and they believed that they could find a higher level of consciousness. But in order to do that, in order to attain this higher state, they uh, they believed that it was only achievable by consuming the flesh and living entirely off of other people. So they all became cannibals. And but eventually the three priests that founded the town who were up in this castle area here, which we'll talk about later, they passed on, leaving the monks to run the city alone. But obviously, with all these other factions rising up, they've lost complete control, but they're struggling. And they're not an insignificant power. I mean, they have the adventure describes them as not even human anymore. They are aberrant creatures, and I think that third edition pulled a bunch of elements from the Book of Vile Darkness to create the monks. So they are pretty darn cool. Um, and so with these six factions, you can already get a picture that the streets are basically under like a constant state of war. You know, you have thugs, pirates, these awful monks prowling the streets, Yuan Ti in the shadows, Kedward Bone and all of his addicts all over the place. It 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 and then you throw into the pot that they all worship different demons. So the Crimson Fleet seems to serve Dagon. The seventh coil is in Demogorgon's pocket. Tiralandi and the Porphyry House, they serve Grazed, if you will. I've never been sure how to pronounce that exactly. So so all of these major players, of which the Crimson Fleet and the Seventh Coil are the most powerful, they all serve different uh different demons with different objectives, and they're all kind of in a state of war with one another. The monks are slowly losing complete control, but they still are a force to be reckoned with. All right. So there are other things in the town that I want to tell you about because it doesn't just end with the factions that make this such an incredible setting. There is an arena. Some players love to have just like big arena fights, so you can do something like that. But moving on, we've got the Birdcage, run by harpies, and these harpies are tough, very tough combatants. One of them's name is Vivisectia. They're sadomasochists, so they run kind of one of the cheaper brothels in town, and they are brutal, sadistic. You can see the picture of a shaved harpy there. She's got like barbed wire wrapped around her. She loves the pain as much as she loves inflicting it. So she is a nasty, well, there's three of them, and they are nasty, nasty individuals. And this is actually a very cool encounter because the birdcage is actually open from the bottom floor. You can look up all the way to the top under this dome here. So this is all wide open up in the middle. That gives the harpies plenty of room to maneuver around, sing their songs, and they've got multiple different songs. So that encounter, I think they have like three or four different types of songs they can sing, and that proc different issues and saving throws for the party. So it's definitely an interesting, much more interesting fight than say just normal harpies. Because these guys are nasty, and they have some spell casting ability, and yeah, but I love them. Plus, that picture just is like as vile as it comes there. Um, we've got a place called Parts is Parts, and it's run by a gnome necromancer named Remus Kaldakar. And so Remus has like all these ghouls and whatnot running around the city collecting parts, and he likes to build creatures, um, and servants that he can sell to some of the pirate crews, some of the factions in town as guards and whatnot. So he is kind of an undead broker, which is cool. Now, something cool about him, and this is where uh, Kedward Bone comes back into it. So Remus here is an ex-adventuring partner of Kedward Bone. And you remember Kedward Bone's little imp friend? Well, she likes to slip out of Kedward Bone's tower, which is right next door here to Parts' Parts, and she likes to get it on with Remus too. So it kind of creates kind of a very bizarre demonic love triangle for the party to maybe get in the middle of. I don't know, but I definitely found this particular hook to be hilarious whenever I was able to use it because it's just people kind of like are, do demons have a sex? Are they girls or boys? Oh, I think a demon can be what it wants, basically. It's the way I interpret it. All right, here we got another one. All right, so this is the old I think it was Clive Caldwell painting of an ogre getting manhandled. Well, this particular location is called the Violated Ogre, and it is a bar where there is an ogre trapped by a robe of powerlessness. So he's tied down. He's got this robe on that prevents him from doing anything to escape. And then they have a ring of regeneration on the rogue, or on the ogre, I'm sorry. And the deal is you can come into the bar and do whatever you want to that poor ogre, and people have. They have just brutalized this poor ogre, and the description in the adventure is that the ogre has gone quite mad due to all of the torture that it's been put through. So it's yet another kind of over the top example of extreme violence and depending on how depraved your players are, it could get pretty nasty pretty quick. So um moving on, I have one last location to show you here. And this is the Scuttlecove Palace. You can see here it is not exactly depicted as a very hospitable place. And that is because this was, again, once home to the three priests who founded the city. They were called the Holy Triad. And when the Holy Triad vanished and no one had seen him for a while, of course, the pirates, they look at this place and there's got to be lots of riches in there. They start going into the palace, breaking in by night and everything to try to get some loot. Well, no one who ever goes in comes out again. And at night, there are howls and roars and wailing, like of almost like spirits coming from within. So the city has pretty much stopped attempting to break into the castle. But here again, another great adventure hook for a DM to play with. A haunted castle. You just have to do the work to put it together. But it fits in so neatly. And yeah, I definitely looked forward to the day that I get to do something with this because none of my groups in the past have ever touched the palace. And in fact, what's interesting is that if you look at the description of the palace, is like you can see occasionally there's lights on. If you look at the walls, there's always silhouetted guards standing vigilant, guard over the castle walls. By day, there's nothing there though, obviously. So it's very unsettling place for your players to go explore. Or maybe you put you know, some sort of some sort of plot device that the party has to fetch to have to go in and get it and get out again. So, you know, the adventure hooks I've used for this place in the past, if within the text of the actual adventure for the Savage Tide, there is an adventuring group known as the Jade Ravens who had gone here to investigate something, and they're never heard from again. So that's one possibility. You could send the party to go find out what happened to the Jade Ravens, and uh, there was another individual that you see right here, Harless Javel. she disappeared in the city, and she is actually a pirate captain. But in any case, there might be an adventure to come find out what happened to her and her ship and her crew. Um, Another one that I've used in the past was kind of fit with the Scuttle or with the Savage Tide storyline where people were mutating into these horrible creatures. And uh it was the Crimson Fleet that was responsible for spreading almost like an infection, this this fever. It was actually Dagon's work, turning people insane and turning their bodies into demonic creatures, and then he would just mindlessly attack everything. So that would be another possibility for your party to travel to Scuttle Cove. They'll have to face off with the Crimson Fleet in their hideout, which would be pretty cool. And the last adventure hook, which is probably my favorite, is Kedward Bone and his drug, the hunger. It gets sent out from Scuttle Cove to many ports of call. More and more people are falling under its sway, and yeah, it calls for a group of adventurers to enter Scuttle Cove and put right all the wrongs created by Kedward Bone and his little imp concubine. In any case, well, there it is. I recommend that you guys check out Dungeon Magazine 146, Scuttle Cove, City of Chaos, because it is an awesome, awesome adventure setting. So, you'll probably see this after Christmas. So, I hope y'all had a great holiday and great New Year. But come on back and have another round on us.